So as you know, as a lot of you guys know, I've been on the journey to essentially start farming and homesteading, currently looking at houses, things of that nature. Takes a long time. But in the meantime, one of the things that I've done recently is I started my own Facebook group specifically to build what I feel is the true farming community or homesteading community, specifically centered around regenerative agriculture with an emphasis on chemical free and things of that nature. Because the current situation of the farm community really isn't much of a community at all. And the reason I say that is I think social media has done a horrific job of just completely tainting the pool of those who really want to be in regenerative agriculture, right? Like there's a ton of people who are hobbyists that are just doing it for the aesthetics and they're just kind of throwing stuff around and they're gossiping and it's really turned into what I would consider to be just not an ideal environment for somebody who's literally serious about stewarding the land, making the land better, making the ecosystem better, and at the same time doing things right to get good food for your family, right? Like I said, my whole reason for even starting this journey was just the issues that I saw within the food system, as well as all the FDA recalls and things that were going on, and then me also being in some of these industries and seeing the level of care that they don't have when it comes to how they use and distribute our food. It was something I wanted to take the middleman out of as much as I could, as well as a way to take care of the land that eventually I'm going to own. But the biggest thing that I see currently is there seems to be this big air of secrecy in terms of those who are successful and those who are not successful. And the reason I say that is there's a lot of information out there, but the information that they're giving is generic information. It's nothing in the sense of how do you actually take care of certain things or what the secrets were that they used to get their crops to be a certain way. And I think a lot of it comes from the fact of a lot of these people are using social media to market, so it has to look a certain way. So they might be taking shortcuts and they might be doing things that necessarily wouldn't bode well for the category that they proclaim to be in. So of course they can't really give you the full details because it would make them look like a hypocrite. Another thing is for me, there's a huge lack of, like I said, the transparency issue, but there's an uptick in selfishness, right? And it's just when it comes to a community, when I think of a community, I think of synergy, right? Where I might be the compost guy, or I might be the chicken guy, or I might be the sheep guy, and somebody else is the cow person, somebody else grows the wheat, somebody else grows the corn. You know what I mean? And from there, us as a community, we work with each other. But it seems like everybody wants to do everything, and then they complain about how they're worn out because they've got their hands in every pot. So there's always something going on year round. Oh, I've done 800 meat chickens, and I've done the U pit garden, and I've done the sheep farm, and it's like at the end of the day, I understand if you're not working in a community and you're working alone, yeah, you might need to do those types of things. But as many able-bodied people that have families and that have people that are benefiting from their farm products, it would make more sense to me that they would look for people within their community to kind of help break up some of the operations that they have to do on their own. But unfortunately, there isn't. And that leads to a big set of selfishness because you've put in so much work and so much effort that now you have to squeeze every single dollar out of every single thing. And the other piece of that is when we have these animals, right? They usually have a peak life, right? A cow is usually productive for a few years and then the production tapers off. The same thing with a hen when it lays, it's productive for a couple years and then it tapers off. Same thing with your sheep, your pigs. They all have kind of that prime of life, right? And what I've seen is people will take end of life animals and bring them to Facebook and try to sell them as if they're prime of life animals. And that lack of transparency, it to me just shows kind of a evil side of the game, right? And I get it. Times are hard. You want to get your money's worth. But at the same time, does that mean you need to take it out and trick those who are trying to get into the industry? Because think about it this way, ranchers aren't going to sell you one or two cows. They're not going to sell you one or two sheep. They're going to sell five or six, 10 plus, and especially with cows nowadays, you're probably going to have to get basically a small herd in order to get your money's worth in terms of getting some kind of a price that makes sense per head. So for them to bring it to Facebook, where a lot of people would want to get maybe one or two animals just to see, rather than going to the sale barn and having to get kind of the bottom of the barrel, and you're saying, well, oh, it's got this pedigree, it's got this, it's got that, and here's how old it is, and so on and so forth. Again, it's just a lot of lying that's going on, and thus people are being put in a position to where they're not going to be successful because they're thinking they're getting something that's going to last them another 5 or 6 years, and it really only lasts 1 or 2, and now they think something's wrong with their animal. So, and there was one situation where, and this isn't necessarily somebody being deceitful, but people were pushing. There was a guy, and I made a video about it. A guy had an older cow. The cow had like maybe 1 or 2 more calves in it, maybe, right? 7-year-old cow, good teeth, good genes, not really sick, dropped a calf every year, all that good stuff, right? And he was like, he's basically made his money back, and he wanted to know if the community would sell it at the sale barn or keep it. And I made a video just saying, hey man, find somebody who wants that cow and who's trying to start a cow herd, or maybe not trying to start a cow herd, just wants that cow and wants to be able to start, what I'm saying, their own little operation or whatever, and sell it to them for the price that it would be equivalent to what you pay for it. And the community was like, nah, that's stupid. You don't know nothing about ranching. And you know what I mean? And it's like at the end of the day, I get it. Not all ranchers are good in terms of business sense. Not all farmers and homesteaders understand the cost that goes into everything. But if you look at how much you have gotten your return on investment on that animal, and then you're about to take this to the slaughterhouse and it's going to basically get turned into ground beef because it's an old cow for the most. I mean, nobody's really going to get a 7-year-old steak out of that. So it's going to be mostly ground beef. Just sell it to somebody so you can get another couple of calves out of it. And then now those genetics that lasted and dropped a calf every year and kept good teeth for 7 years and didn't have many health issues because it lived that long. Now those genetics can spread, and now the herd overall can be better because now somebody else can have a heifer or a steer that's going to have those same genes. But again, it's the selfishness of the community to be like, no, you need to get all the money you can, so on and so forth. And that leads to like my biggest issue. To me, farming is supposed to be about taking care of your family. Again, this is for me. I'm not saying everybody who goes into farming is thinking about taking care of their family. A lot of people go into farming because they want to make money, and that's a crazy place to go. But that's their prerogative. But my mindset is I want to be able to feed my family the best food I can. And my family includes my immediate family, my extended family, and my in-laws and whoever else is willing, what I'm saying, to put in on it. And with that, I want to build that synergy with them and with the other people in the community that I'm going to be moving to. And I think as we've taken the idea of making a business out of it, out of context and making it crazy, we're not understanding the actual strategy should be take care of your family first, and whatever you have in abundance, then you take that and you figure out if you can sell it, right? And if you can't sell it, then you give it away or you store it or whatever you're going to do with it. But ultimately, there has to be some sort of understanding of I'm doing this for me first, and everything else adjacent to that is for other people. And that's why making content is so important and so on and so forth if you need that alternative stream of income. But again, with this mindset of I have to get every dollar out of everything, you want to put yourself in a position to where you're in a business that does not usually bode well financially unless you just literally hit it out of the park in terms of location, marketing, and everything else. So the whole point of this video, I started my own group. All right, it's called Get Back to the Land. And the reason I started it is because there were no groups that I felt comfortable enough in getting good information that wasn't bogged down with spam or gossip or just people asking stupid questions and making stupid points and people arguing. So, in order for me to kind of build the community that I wanted to build, I started my own group. And here are kind of some of the things that we are looking for within that group, right? So currently, all the information we have is free. So there's no like, go to my website, nothing like that. And there are people who have blogs and things like that on there. But for the most part, all the information is free. If there's any sales that go on, I want them to be transparent. Any giveaways, they need to be transparent. Um, and it's legitimately forming a community, right? Like, so that means, if you need help, if you need somebody to assist you in anything, or if you're looking for some cheaper animals, older animals, or you're trying to get rid of some animals because you've got too many, this would be the place to do it. And I personally filter every post. And I personally filter everybody who gets accepted. So it's my community for the most part, because I'm literally the one that's actually doing the filtering. Right now, the first phase is mostly farmers and homesteaders with a special emphasis on anybody who is a person of color because we are severely underrepresented in this space. But everybody's welcome. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to do a huge background check, but I will monitor very heavily. And I'm keeping the group small on purpose to do that. So if you are interested, it's Get Back to the Land on Facebook. And I'll put a link to it in the description. And ultimately, like I said, I'm just looking to turn things around and try to make things what they need to be for the community. So appreciate you guys for watching.